They came at sunrise, unannounced, uninvited, and unmistakably armed not with weapons, but with clipboards, bright orange vests, walkie-talkies, and a smug authority that said they didn't expect to be questioned. 4 trucks rolled up my private gravel road, tires grinding through the silence like they owned the place. Out stepped uniformed men and women wearing security badges with 3 bold letters across the back. HOA. I stood on the porch of my lakefront ranch, coffee still warm in my hand, wondering what kind of neighborhood watch, dressed like they were ready to seize a compound. One of them barked, "Sir, we're here for a property compliance inspection." I raised an eyebrow. "You've got the wrong address. This land isn't under your HOA. The man didn't flinch. Per Section 14 of District Overlay Expansion, your property falls under Temporary Review Authority. That was a lie. I knew it, and they knew I knew it. My land, 200 acres passed down from my grandfather, was outside their jurisdiction, protected by an exemption signed off 2 decades ago. But they weren't here for paperwork. They were here for control. They split into teams, one heading toward my dock, another toward the barn, the rest circling the house like buzzards. My dogs barked, my horses shifted uneasily in the pasture. I followed the leader, the one with the radio and mirrored asked, "What exactly are you looking for?" He answered without looking at me, "Unauthorized additions, safety hazards, structural code violations." I laughed. "Out here, you're 4 miles past the last paved road." That's when I noticed one of the team members had opened my electrical box and was photographing my solar battery unit. Another was tapping on the side of my greenhouse. That's when it clicked. They weren't inspecting, they were surveying. But for who and why now? Then I remembered the letter. A month earlier, the HOA president had sent a friendly notice about regional rezoning efforts, asking if I'd ever consider selling part of my lakeside parcel. I tossed it in the fire pit. Apparently, that didn't sit well. Back at the dock, 2 men were trying to remove the security camera I'd installed to monitor wildlife and flood levels. "Hey," I shouted, "step away from that equipment. You're trespassing, and that's private property." They ignored me. That's when I did something I hadn't done in years. Opened my grandfather's old lockbox. Inside was a thick manila envelope with the deed boundary maps and the original exemption letter signed by a federal land use officer. I made copies, called my lawyer, and told him to be on standby. Then I walked back outside, camera rolling, mic on, and narrated every move they made. "This is my land," I said clearly, "and these are HOA contractors illegally entering private, exempt property with the intent to harass and intimidate." One of the men lunged for my phone. Stepped back. "Try that again, and I'll press felony charges for assault and unlawful seizure." The leader motioned him off, but now the whole crew was tense. Their plan had hit a wall, and they didn't expect resistance. That's when the real motive slipped. A young man in the group to green, to hide his nerves, looked at the camera and muttered, "They said you were recording something from here that could get them in trouble." I zoomed in on his badge and said, "Trouble like illegal construction across the lake." He froze. "Gotcha." I walked back to the dock and checked. The footage on my wildlife cam still intact, still streaming to the cloud. What it showed: bulldozers operating at night, heavy cement mixers pouring foundations next to protected wetlands, no permits, no fencing, no environmental signs. The HOA wasn't protecting the community. They were covering up a secret expansion project they thought no one could see, except my ranch had the only clear view of the northern bank. That's what this was all about. silencing the one property that could expose them. By afternoon, they had radioed in reinforcements to SUVs with tinted windows and legal affairs stickers on the doors. A woman stepped out in heels like she was walking into a courtroom, not a cow pasture. "Sir," she said with a forced smile, "we're here to discuss a potential settlement regarding your land use." I cut her off. "You sent goons to tear apart my property and threaten me in front of my animals, and now you want to negotiate." I handed her a flash drive. "This is a copy of every violation I've recorded across the lake. Give it to your boss. You have 24 hours to clear everyone off my land, or I take this public." She tried to maintain her composure, but I could see it in her eyes. This wasn't supposed to go this far. I wasn't supposed to be informed. I wasn't supposed to have evidence, but I had all of it. That night, I posted the footage online with a simple caption. "They tried to erase my camera. Now the world can see why." By morning, the video had gone viral. Local news picked it up, then national. Environmental groups contacted me. State officials launched an emergency investigation into HOA development activity. And then the hammer dropped. The Department of Natural Resources confirmed that the wetland being disturbed was a protected zone. The HOA had bypassed every regulation, falsified permit timelines, and broken over a dozen federal statutes. Their president resigned. Their project shut down. Their legal team scrambling, and my ranch declared a protected heritage property, safe from HOA influence permanently. But the part that stuck with me the most wasn't the scandal or the headlines. It was the moment I sat on my porch 2 days later, same mug of coffee in hand, and watched the lake finally return to peace. My grandfather built this place to be free. Free from noise, free from neighbors with fake authority, free from the kind of greed that hides behind suits and bylaws. They came with threats, with clipboards and lies. They left with silence, exposed by the one thing they underestimated, someone who knew the truth and refused to back down. So, if you've ever felt bullied by people with badges they didn't earn, remember this: they only win if you stay quiet. Me, I recorded everything, and that changed everything. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply press record.